from the Tantric tradition, there is a teaching known as pure motive. And the idea here is that most of us start off our yoga practice or our spiritual practice with at least one of three impure motives. And impure doesn't mean as in bad or wrong, but rather that it's ineffective or misaligned. So the first impure motive that motivates people to start practicing is that it's out of hatred for the self. So it's thinking that there is something wrong with me, and therefore I'm going to go and practice to fix myself. So this idea that there's something wrong with me is what is known as an impure motive. When Tantra actually teaches us that there's everything right with me, there's everything right with you, and that the practice is not about changing the self, but it's actually about remembering. It's about remembering who you really are, remembering your perfection beneath all of the layers and the masks and the defenses and the armor that we've built up along the way. So the antidote to this impure motive of practicing out of hatred for the self is practicing out of love for the self. So that's the first impure motive. The second impure motive is practicing for peak experiences. Practicing because you want to feel a certain way. Practicing because you want to be happy, or you want to be elated, or you want to be thrilled, or whatever it is that you're practicing for these emotional states that are all temporary. They're all impermanent. Now, happiness is a wonderful thing, but it is impermanent. So if that is your goal for practicing, then you're basically setting yourself up for a fall, because no one is always going to be constantly happy. There are always going to be upswings and downswings. And so this idea of practicing for experiences, peak experiences or emotional states, is considered an impure motive. And the antidote to that is that we practice for truth. We practice to see reality as it truly is. And whatever comes, we practice to see the truth, whether the truth is going to be difficult to process or whether it's going to have it is going, in fact, to make us happy. And actually, in fact, the Tantra teaches us that if we do practice in this way, that bliss, happiness, is a byproduct of seeing reality as it truly is. But the bliss, the happiness, is not the goal. It's a byproduct. If we start practicing with that goal of being happy, of that goal of those sorts of peak experiences, then that is what often leads to spiritual bypassing. And the final impure motive is that we practice for power. And we practice for egoic reasons, because we want to gain more power or gain control over another or a group of people or this kind of thing, where we want to elevate ourselves. So this is the third impure motive. I'd say it's probably less frequent than the first two. And the antidote to this impure motive is to practice for the benefit of all beings. We practice for the benefit of all beings. So the idea here with this teaching is that we start to identify where in us we have these impure motives, and we start to instill the pure motives in their place. And the pure motives are: I practice for love of myself, I practice for the love of truth, and I practice for the benefit of all beings.